All right, then. Thank you so much for staying with us. Interesting conversation, you will say there. Well, just wait and watch the next conversation as we tell you that Nigeria did not consider taxation as a sustainable source of revenue during the 70s and the late 80s. A lot of attention was focused on oil revenue. During this period, states in the country relied seriously on proceeds from federation accounts. In 2014, at the turn of the global recession, we saw a sharp fall in oil prices and, by extension, reduced proceeds from the federation account. The overdependence on income from oil created a discrepancy in implementation of some of the fiscal policies. Government, as federal, states, and local, began to look inwards, focusing on internally generated revenue as sustainable means of funding as bankruptcy loomed among the states. The revenue accruing to the federal government of Nigeria from oil over the years has remained grossly insufficient to meet the growing social and public spending required in fostering economic growth and development in the country. Nigeria employed taxation as an alternative to source for revenue when the crude crashed in the world market. Let's get to the other side of our discussion, this special coverage today. And I have joining me, she is the former chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service. She is now the president, International Center of Tax Research and Development. Madam Morenike Babington Ashaye. It's good to see you, ma. Good afternoon. Happy Independence to you.
Thank you very much, Tolu. Happy Independence Day.
Yes, I started talking oil from Professor Iledare, talking about how we made revenue and all of that. But I think we'll start the conversation with issues around Nigeria economy. We hear a lot of stories of the good old days. My dad told me so many good stories of those days. How has Nigeria fared over the years with focus on tax system and administration?
Thank you very much, Tolu. Yes, the good old days. We did have the good old days when our currency was very strong, where you can travel with little fund, and where you enjoy, whether you are in school, whether you are at home, whether you go to the hospital, whether you seek for government facilities. So yes, it is the good old days where you find that nurses and doctors, they protect life, and when you went to hospitals, you are well treated, and judges during that time, of course, they were very strict, and they did justice with conscience. They are not following orders of government. They are what one can call in between the people and the government. They don't see themselves as part of the government. They see that they don't favor anyone, whether you are government or you are an individual. They did their job equitably, for the benefit of humanity. When you look at taxation, during the early years, that is during the time we had independence, even before then, there used to be different types of taxes. And that is for West, East, and North. And each region is able to harmonize taxes within its own region, collect its own revenue, and serve the people. And that is why you find that in the Western region, a lot of people will tell you, I went to school without paying a dime, without paying a kobo. You are fed in the school, you are well taken care of in the school. I remember during my old days, you find the Western region education department, going from one school to the other, giving advice to those who are preparing to leave, to show them which courses they should take, which discipline that government needs people. So you find that students are well prepared to go out, or when they are going to the university, they go with the belief that, yes, if I get out, I'm going to get employment. With regards to the issue of taxation over the years, you see, taxation is a system whereby government collects revenue for the benefit of the people. Because the government is, one can say the government is a worker serving the people. And as such, the interest of the people matter most. Not nowadays that we have government that they serve themselves first before they even think about the people. So taxation, the tax system has been such that people willingly will want to pay tax because you are seeing the benefit. But nowadays, people will ask, what has the government done? In every vicinity, you find that people are actually, having their own local government. Every household in Nigeria now has its own local government. And when you expend a lot of money and the government is saying pay taxes, you don't see the rationale why you should pay taxes. You find, even in your vicinity, in your local government, for a good 5 years, you haven't seen the local government authority doing anything tangible in your area. Whereas in the past, you have house inspectors, you have, everything was well organized. And of course, there's punishment if you fail to pay your taxes in the olden days. But now, people, you find the employees paying taxes because it will be deducted from source. And of course, you have people with conscience who will willingly pay taxes. But the majority of people who fail to pay taxes, one can say, belong to the government, whether the National Assembly, whether it's the president, the deputy president, the governors, the legislators. For example, recently, the legislators confirmed that they received 21 million in their account. Why didn't they ask how much tax was deducted? So you find a situation now that the tax system, maybe by the time we start implementing the new system that will be brought to light, maybe we'll be having people now being committed. But essence of taxation is for the government to have resources to meet the demands of the people. And where that fails, government cannot blame people for not paying taxes because there must be accountability. You see, Tolu, this recent tax reform that is being done, I'm a bit disturbed. Disturbed in the sense that IMF and World Bank are partners in this new reform that we are doing. And they must have contributed financially to the reform that is being done. You see, in any society, you cannot bring about tax reform without the constitution being well laid out, being well understood. Because the problem we have now is that government is thinking, assuming for the people. This is what the people need. This is what the people need. It is not the issue of Tinubu administration alone. It is since 1999. There is nowhere you find people coming out in my community. This is what we need. This is what we need. And community must always be well developed because that is where the people live. But I have seen some issues in this present tax policy reform that I'm not happy about. And I will say it when, when we go along with other questions that you ask, because I'm a bit irritated.
Yes.
That IMF and World Bank will be dictating for us how we should amend our tax legislation.
Mrs. Allow me to butt in and ask you, because time is already fast spent, a lot of activities today, but now we have a committee, just like you also said, and they're trying to streamline taxes. They've come up with a stabilization bill that has been passed to the National Assembly. All of this is to make it easier, according to them, and attract, of course, investment into the country. Investors' confidence is needed. What do you make of this? What are your suggestions for government?
Well, the area that I did not feel happy about is the area that IMF and World Bank brought in around, is it almost 20 years ago or 18 years ago, that all resources from the states should go to the federal government. The Federal Inland Revenue Service, by our constitution, is not the only institution that is meant to administer taxes.
Okay.
State governments have the right to administer some taxes. I don't know whether the state governors have agreed with IMF and World Bank and the federal government that they will do away with their own tax resources. I don't know. But the same thing that the state chairman of internal revenue rejected 18 years ago, IMF and World Bank is asking the committee to bring it back, which means that Federal Inland Revenue Service will be collecting all tax resources, and then it will be distributed according to whatever they decide. But that is going to limit the resources for the state. And we have also to think about federalism. By the time all these taxes are put together, then we are under unitary government. The federal government can punish the state government at any time. And the state will have no money, no resources to finance projects for the state and also the local government. I have gone through some of the points because I have been looking for the report. I haven't seen the report. The issue of VAT, for example, on assets. Maybe this is what IMF and World Bank are proposing, that they want to satisfy the foreign investors. It is totally wrong. Because that VAT on assets, usually it was capitalized. It's capitalized. And over the years, they will get capital allowances. They will get benefits. So why are we in a hurry that the VAT should be paid back to them? From where are we paying back the VAT? So these are issues, because it's going to reduce whatever revenue government intends to generate. Because you find that capital assets are very, very expensive. And by the time you now say collect VAT back, then it's going to reduce the revenue government has at its disposal. So I am concerned the fact that we are not looking at the Constitution before preparing a tax reform. For example, I listened to Mr. Oyedele talking about removing VAT on so many things because they are thinking of the people. Now, in the Constitution, there is provision that when someone is unemployed, unemployment benefits must be paid. Education, during Obasanjo period, they told the people, they told Nigerians that they can only afford primary school plus JSS. Now, what is it? Because recently we heard that there is increase in school fees for secondary school. Why can't the president, what are we going to do with the tax policy to make sure that all those constitutional requirements for the benefit of the people are met? If there's no employment, there must be unemployment benefit. The health system is important. It must be aligned with responsibility. All those things that are basic needs of the people, the tax reform must ensure that government pay attention. Now, there is the issue of infrastructure. We must be able to attach resources to infrastructure. We must have a limit. We cannot just, say, oh, we are doing infrastructure. Who will use that infrastructure, the dead or the living? So there must be a limit so that we can cater for the benefit of the people. So there are issues in the Constitution. For example, now, it is not justable if president, governor, local government chairman, they spend our resources the way they like. So all this must, first of all, be amended. You cannot do a tax reform without looking into the loopholes in the Constitution that will be draining our resources away. So even if a president has amnesty, you cannot have amnesty against people's resources. It is our commonwealth. So that must be clear in the Constitution. You must be able to account for how you spend people's money. And you cannot, because you see, Tolu, the problem we're having in Nigeria is that government is, personalized. Since 1999, even since the military, government belongs to the family of the president. And they don't care, what happens to people. This has to be in the Constitution, that welfare of the people come first. Security is important. Governors receive 700 million every month for security. Who are they securing? Which life? Which property? Or is it personal to give governors, each governor in the federation, about 700 million every month for their personal use? When people are dying, when people go, they cannot eat, they don't have good housing. So even if it is that 700 million that it has attached to security of life and property for individuals, that will go a long way. Now, I haven't seen anything.
You need 30 seconds to wrap up your thoughts, please.
Cash benefits. People must be able to, government must be able to give cash benefits to the people. It's not a question of buying palliative. They must have the money, and they should be able to use that money the way they like, because it is their money. And the essence of taxation is that we bring money together so that we can all enjoy.
It's an interesting conversation, and I see the energy and the passion there. I must thank you, but that's our time. I'll be speaking to Mrs. Moreni Kebabintin Ashai, bearing our minds on, of course, taxation issues and issues around fiscal policy of government. She was the former chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, so she's talking more about what she knows of. Thank you so much. I do enjoy the rest of your day, and happy independence to you.
Thank you, Tolu.
All right. Well, that's our package from this end. Thank you so much for being a part of it.